Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to the STEAM train with New Minds. I hope you guys are all doing well. If you haven't seen any of these before, this is your first one. Thank you for tuning in live, or if you're watching on newminds.tv, that's super awesome. We're in our new space, so we already have our mask up from yesterday's STEAM train. So we're going to have a super awesome time today. I have Stefan over here helping me today. He's going to be hanging out. We're learning about something super cool. Let's see what the magic box has left us today, and let's see what our supplies are going to be. It looks like we have some dominoes. Those can be used for something. We have a ruler. That can be really useful for a lot of things. We have some coins. I have a bunch of quarters. I have some tape. Kind of a weird tape, maybe a little heavy tape. Interesting. We also have a regular tape roll. I have a Minecraft iron block. I wonder what that's going to be for. I have a spoon. A cassette tape. An eraser, another piece of tape, and a missing domino. Huh. I wonder what I could do with all these supplies. I can... No magic box, I think I figured out what you want me to do. With this ruler, we can learn about balance. The cool thing about balance is it can be used with almost any object. Just like this ruler, it's going to balance in the middle. Most things they want to balance in the middle of their weight. So the ruler's the same all the way across. So there's weight on one side, there's weight on the other side. So in the middle, it's going to be even. I can actually balance it on my finger. Because I see where the middle is, right in the middle of the ruler. Let's see if I can balance it. Ooh, there we go. So weight is even on both sides, and now it's just balancing on my finger. Nothing's acting on it. It's just sitting there floating on my finger, and it's super cool to see. But how would you find the balance of something that isn't even and marked like a ruler? Let's say I want to find the balance of this spoon. There's actually a super cool trick you could do, because balance is actually going to have an effect on force. All you're going to do is put your fingers on opposite ends of the handle, and this works with any spoon. It doesn't just have to be this spoon, and it'll help you find the balance. Just imagine sliding your fingers in slowly. Only the finger that's unbalanced is going to move, and they're going to get closer and closer, and they're going to meet in the middle of the balance point. So this is where my finger stopped, so when I put my finger in the same spot, that's actually where the spoon balances. You notice there's less length on this side, and there's more length on this side. But this side has the big bowl on it, so it's actually much heavier. That's kind of cool, but what else can we do with balance to help us learn things about the world around us? We can actually use this ruler to make a balancing scale. We can figure out how much things weigh by using this ruler. I'm going to use this loose domino that fell out. I'm going to make my scale. I'm going to go ahead and put it in the middle. And I can see this balances just like normal. If I put Stefan on one side, the scale is going to go down. The die that's down is going to be heavier, just like when we learned about with levers. The cool thing is, I can actually do it with the domino flat too. His side still goes down. Cool thing is, we can use a consistent measurement. That means it stays the same. We can figure out how to know how heavy things are. So I think that's what I'm going to use my quarters for. I'm going to measure everything in quarters and figure out how many quarters some of these objects are going to weigh. I know they'll be balanced because they'll both be lifted off the ground. So let's see, is it 1 quarter? 1 quarter is actually too heavy, so I might want to find something lighter for Stefan. But let's try something different like this eraser. It looks like the eraser is heavier than 1 quarter. It's heavier than 2 quarters. It's heavier than 3 quarters. It's 4 quarters. And you see how it balanced out? They both lifted up. So I know this eraser is 4 quarters. So I'm going to put 4 quarters next to my eraser. I think I want to figure out these things in order of how heavy or how light they are. Now I have this cassette. This is probably going to be really heavy. Actually, let's take it out of the case. It might be a little too heavy. There we go. If you've ever seen one of these, it just holds on to music for you. You want to make sure they're on the same part of the ruler. They're both on the end. Just like when we talked about with levers. If it's closer to the middle, it's going to be a little bit different. So right now it's 3/4. I'm going to go by threes. 6/4. Oh, that's actually a little too heavy. 5/4. 5/4. So it's actually not that much heavier than an eraser. So I'm going to put it, since it's heavier, on this side of the eraser. It weighs 5/4. Now let's see this iron block. I think this is going to be lighter than the eraser. I think it's going to be 3/4. This is just my guess or hypothesis. It's just my scientific guess. But I think this is going to be less because it feels a little lighter in my hand. But I won't know until I use my awesome scientific tool to figure it out. Let's see. 1/4. Not quite. 2/4. Not quite. Let's see one more. Here's my guess. It was 3. Ooh. It is 3/4. So I'm going to put that next to my little lineup over here. This is my finger tape. I use it to make sure when my fingers get hurt, I kind of tape them back together. I'm going to put this on one side, just like always, and see how we made a scientific instrument out of just two things, a ruler and a domino. Now we can do a scientific test. We have numbers that we can use, like quarters, and we have data we can select from. Let's see. I think this is going to be 7. I think this is going to be heavier than the cassette. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's my guess. 7. Ooh, I think it's actually one more. 8. Yeah, it is 8. It did lift up a little bit on 7, but it wasn't quite balanced. It has to be completely flat or level. So it's actually 8/4. I was one off, but I think that was a pretty good guess. And now we're figuring out how heavy or light these objects are by just using a measurement. We know that this iron is lighter than the eraser. We know the eraser is lighter than the cassette tape. We know the cassette tape is lighter than the tape. I have one more tape roll, and we know this guy is actually the lightest, Stefan over here, because he didn't weigh any quarters, so I'm actually going to put him on this side. The last object I have is this tape roll, but we already did some tape, so I'm actually going to use a spoon, since it's still here. Actually, this spoon won't fit on my scale, so I'm going to use the tape again. I changed my mind. And 1/4. I think this one's going to be 6. 2/4. 3/4. 4/4. 5/4. I was wrong. This is actually only 5/4. So let's see. It's in the same spot as our cassette tape. So I'm going to put that in the 5 row. So we can double check our scientific tests by using the scale again. We can make sure we see what's heavier and what's lighter by looking at our scale. The lighter side is going to go up. The heavier side is going to go down. So we know that this guy is lighter than the iron, so the iron should go down. And we're correct. We know the iron is lighter than the eraser, so the iron should go up. There we go. We know the cassette tape is heavier than the eraser, so the eraser should go up. Just like that. We know these two are the same, so they should be balanced. And if you look, they actually sit perfectly balanced. I might need to move Stefan a little bit. They actually sit perfectly balanced, and I didn't know these were balanced before I got here today. And we know that this tape is about 7/4. So let's see here. We know we have something that's 4, this eraser. We have something that's 3, this iron block. So we can combine them and see if they're the same weight. If you look, oh, my scale's kind of falling apart. They actually balance. We just did a super basic test. We just measured in quarters, but we're able to figure out the weights of all of these objects, and we can actually balance them. We know this is 7/4. We know this is 4/4 plus 3/4. 4 plus 3 is 7. And so we know they're both 7, so they're going to be balanced. I think that's super neat, and you can do a lot of things with this. one thing you can do is using balance, you can actually build towers. Your first challenge for today is to make your own balance scale and see what objects in your house balance. Make sure it's small stuff that you have permission to use. Don't go and take your mom's phone when she wants it, anything like that. Nothing that can break because they might fall off of this scale. And just measure out maybe some of your favorite toys. See what balances with each other. Your second challenge is going to be using balance to build something. The cool thing is, if things are balanced, they're going to stay up. Our scale was unbalanced because it only had 1 point, so it would have to balance evenly. Well, we can do this with something like dominoes. We can build a tower on top of one domino. But we have to make sure we put both sides on at the same time. It's going to be a little tricky. It's going to take me a couple tries, but that's okay. I'm going to keep trying. The cool thing about dominoes is they have a line right in the middle, so you know where the balance is. Let's see if I can stack these. If I'm careful. Ooh, I almost had it. I'm going to keep trying. The cool thing is you can actually build balancing towers that are built on top of one domino. The only tricky part is you have to put both sides on at the same time, or it'll actually fall over. Almost there. You know, I'm going to try it a different way. If something doesn't work, you can always come back and try it with a new solution. So I know I have my domino to balance, but if I try putting them sideways. There we go. Now they're balanced. Put another domino on top. And now I could put 3 more dominoes on top. Ooh, not quite. I got about 4 standing on there on one balanced domino, but if you really take your time and you go slow with it and you're careful, you can do a lot more. Especially if you use something like Jenga blocks, they're going to be a little bit bigger. Just make sure with any game or toy you use, you put it away afterward. Another super awesome thing you can use balance for is to play games. And it's super awesome because these games you'll get better at the more you know about balance. This is one I've had for a long time, and it is called Suspend. How it works is you actually have to balance different colors on a balance beam. So you kind of have to use your knowledge of levers, simple machines, and everything else like that to know how to balance it. Let me see if I can put this together first. Here we go. This goes here. Well, actually, that's the wrong piece. This goes over here. This goes down here. And where'd it go? This is a hook. So everything I know is going to balance on this top piece. So I probably want a big balance beam. And there's a lot of balancing games. If you have something like Tip It, one where you have to pull things off of a tower, there's balancing tower games. So anytime you look at it, you want to look at the objects that are stacked and be like, okay, there's 3 on this side, there's 4 on this side. I should take the one with 4, that way there'll be 3 and 3 and they'll be balanced and I don't knock it over. So that's a really awesome thing is you can look at it and see what's balanced. So this is going to sit balanced on top. If I have 2 different of these black ones, I can put them on. They're going to stay balanced. Maybe I put a yellow one on one side, and you notice everything is going to tip because now it's no longer balanced. But if I put a yellow on the other side, now it is balanced, and they're sitting at the same height. And maybe I want to make it even more balanced. So I'm going to put yellows on the front and on the back. Just like this. And all of a sudden I have this super balanced tower. All I'm doing is using the knowledge I learned from this experiment to be able to just play a family game and get a little better at it. Because now I know I want it to be even on both sides. If I didn't know anything about balance, and I just started putting random pieces on, like I want a big one on this side, and I want a small one on this side, and I want to put another big one on this side right here, like this, and I want another big one on this side, then all of a sudden, it's no longer balanced, and it's never going to be. Because this side is way too heavy, and this side is way too light. I'm going to go ahead and put this game away, because make sure when I pull out supplies, I know to put them away, so that way other people can use them when I'm done. I don't want to lose any of these pieces. But remember, we learned about 3 awesome things that balance can do today, and I hope you guys have really enjoyed. Thank you for tuning in again with Real Inspired Learning with New Minds, and keep practicing your passions until they become your talents. Thank you guys, and have a wonderful day.